We're going to look into in the second segment. And in the third segment, we're throwing it out to Darlington. And we're looking at some NASCAR paint schemes for this upcoming throwback weekend. These things are dirty, Bandy, and I cannot wait. I'm hoping you're going to be able to throw them up on the stream as well.
Oh, yeah. Wait, dirty in a good way, right?
In a good way. I feel like everything's kind of backwards nowadays. We talk about things like they're cold or they're fire, it's like, which one is it that means that it's going to be cool? But either way, we got to get into a good little conversation with our main dude, Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball, presented by Mercury Motors and Alumni Hall, because there's plenty of things to talk about in the SEC, whether it's the rain delays from the SEC softball tournament, or whether we're hyping up this Alabama game that's going to be going down today against LSU, or if we want to talk about recruiting, he's going to be able to do it. He's the man. He is Drew DeArmond. Drew, how you doing today, man?
Doing well. It's going to be an interesting weekend for Alabama baseball. They've got 6 games remaining. This will be the last home regular season series, probably last home series of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to host this year. Now, it's not out of the question if they were to would go 5-1 or 6-0, but that's going to be really tough to do over the next 2 weekends, and then get hot in Hoover. But I think they can still be a solid 2 seed. Their RPI is number 13 right now. They played a tough schedule. LSU is not vintage LSU. But they still are the defending national champions. They still are a powerhouse program, and there's going to be some interesting storylines because they've got Luke Holman starting Saturday, who was Alabama's Friday night guy by the end of last year. Then he took a bag of money and went to LSU as far as for NIL. So there won't be any love lost there with him facing the Tide and going up, against Zane Adams, the freshman lefty for the Tide on that Saturday night game, and Ben Hess, I'm sure, is going to go for Bama on Sunday. Friday is going to be Greg Ferrone, the lefty tonight from Louisville. He had probably his worst outing, but I'm not even going to count it against Mississippi State after you find out. I mean, I knew that there was a sickness that went through the team, but we talked to Martha Etheridge of D1Baseball.com, who was there last weekend. They freaking got sick. They got some bad pasta, guys. They had a catered meal. They got poisoned, and I'm not saying on purpose. I'm just saying they got some bad food.
It's got to be the sauce. Because I feel like anytime you make pasta bad, it's usually the sauce that throws it out.
They had 27 players on the trip. 24 were sick.
Oh my gosh.
And so they weren't themselves. They found a way to win the Sunday game or 10-5. So they got through that. They found a way to win one game. But again, it was just one of those things where, and it just was not good. They were not themselves. They found a way to win Game 3 somehow, and now they got to face LSU, who's playing their best baseball. They've won 3 series in a row. They beat Northwestern State 6-5, and they're in the midweek earlier this week. And then before that they took out Texas A&M, won 2 out of 3, but lost the Sunday game. I think Alabama can win this series at home, though. They need to bounce back with their pitching. And Alabama got a big midweek win earlier this week. They beat a ranked Troy team that had just broken into the top 25. They beat Troy 7-6. They were still feeling the effects. They still didn't have everybody available in the game against Troy because of this food poisoning. Hopefully they're going to be 100% tonight. They're going to need to be. They need to pack the Joe over at Sewell Thomas and find a way to take 2 games in this series against the Bayou Bengals. If they can do that, and then they'll be going to Auburn next week to end the regular season. I still say if they go 4-2, they'll be solidly in the tournament going into Hoover. You'll be 34-20. You'll have 14 SEC wins. You'd have to do, I'd say, get to Saturday or Sunday to be in the host conversation to have a chance to win the SEC tournament. But that still would probably be a stretch. But I think you would be what would be called a high 2 seed, which would potentially, depending on where you travel, you would have it would in theory, like for example, Alabama was the 16 seed last year that hosted. You might end up in a regional of the 13, 14, 15, 16 seed, which is considered not as strong. It's never easy to win on the road in college baseball. But again, if you're Alabama, and I think one of the projections lately had them going to North Carolina, they have a really good program. But I mean, you take your chances. You just right now want to get over this sickness situation, get your team healthy, and try to finish the regular season strong. Because again, you're still not guaranteed to even get a regional bid. As tough as the SEC is, you want to continue to play good baseball. You need to get a couple of series wins down the stretch. And LSU's fighting for their postseason lives too. Because even as a defending national champ, I still think they're in pretty solid shape. But again, they've got Ole Miss next weekend at the Box. If they can win that. And win 2 out of 3. Even if they lose the Alabama series, I think they're still in. But teams like Florida, who right now are right around 500 and under 500 in the SEC, they got to win games, no question about it, to assure that they're going to get into a regional bid. They're still, and then Vanderbilt, as crazy as that sounds, they're a perennial power. I still think they're in solid shape too, but they have a very tough schedule. I mean, when you're talking about they got to play the Tennessee Vols, who are the number 1 team in the country at Vandy this weekend, and then I believe they got to face Kentucky. And Kentucky is leading the Southeastern Conference. So the SEC is a meat grinder, but right now, and then Auburn on the other side of the state, basically they have to win. They need to win out. They're going to definitely have to sweep Alabama, in my opinion. And they're at Mizzou. Mizzou and Auburn right now are the 2 teams out.
Yeah.
They're 12 of the 14 make it. Mizzou has got to win as well. And this is at Missouri. So Auburn's going to have to win this series on the road to even stay in the conversation, or otherwise they're just going to be playing for pride next week. And it's been a tough year for Butch Thompson's group, and he's done such an amazing job at Auburn, but their pitching has really struggled. And so they're in need of – they need to try to go 6-0. And then if they did, that would get them to 10 wins. And I'm still not sure they'd get to Hoover, but that's the only shot they've got. Yeah. And so Alabama, they need to take these next 2 series. But, again, you're going to be going to Auburn, which great rivalry. Still should be some great crowds over at Plainsman's Park. They'd like nothing better than to spoil Alabama's season. So if you're the Tide, man, but you've got to concentrate on LSU and try to get this dub tonight, see if Greg Ferrone can get deep in the game and beat the Bayou Bengals.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's going to be a little bit of a torn state. I mean, isn't it always a torn state? It's always either Auburn or Alabama, whichever side you're going to go for. But it's definitely going to come down to the wire whenever the season gets rounded out. But I don't know. I like the way, you bring up North Carolina, as a team that Alabama might face off against when it comes to the tournament, just because I feel like Alabama's got their number right now, okay? I feel like they want a little bit of, revenge against us just due to what we did to them in the actual basketball tournament. So, maybe our odds against them, it's going to be pretty fine. But let's move over to the softball scene because, of course, last time we talked, we were hyping up the Alabama-LSU matchup. That went 14 innings, and it wasn't the only one because Auburn also had a 14-inning game against Georgia. Both of those squads lost. Georgia now moves on against Florida. It's a 2 seed. And Drew, just kind of talk about what this entire tournament has been about.
It's been about a weather delay.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't even gotten through the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they're almost not a full day behind, but you can maybe say a half a day. The big story has been LSU because Alabama was beating them 2-0. They came back to win 3-2 in 14 innings, scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th, walked it off in the 14th, and then yesterday they upset the top seed Tennessee Lady Vomit and Volunteers. Pardon me, the mispronunciation there on purpose, but.
Slip up.
Yeah, I said Vomit Tears, and I said, well, excuse me, Volunteers. But, no, I mean, Tennessee's had a great year. They're still going to be a host. They're still going to be a national seed. They were the regular season champion. What's tough about the SEC softball tournament, but it's a good thing with all these weather delays, is it's single elimination. So you can get back on track quickly. Unfortunately for Tennessee, they've won back-to-back SEC regular season championships. They lose 2-1. Yesterday to LSU, who's hot right now under Beth Torena. They win that game 2-1, and so they find a way to survive. And then they had to stop the other quarterfinal, the second quarterfinal game they finally got underway, which was Missouri and Arkansas. That got stopped in the 5th inning. They're trying to complete that game, and then they'll get the other 2 quarterfinals played today, and then it should set up the 2 semifinal matchups for Saturday. But, yeah, the biggest story has been the weather because the other matchups are Georgia and the 7 seed against number 2 seed Florida. That's going to be an interesting one. And then South Carolina, I don't know what it is, but they usually always play well in this tournament, in the softball tournament. They're the 11 seed. They survived as well. They are still in this thing, and they are going to be playing the 3 seed Texas A&M. So those games will hopefully be done today. And again, like I said, Tennessee is still assured to be a national seed. They'll be slated to host both regionals, and if they win the said regional, they'll host the Supers. They've got a great chance to still be in Oklahoma City because, again, the regional play and super regionals are double elimination. You don't have to worry about being in a situation where maybe your bats go cold or you face a hot pitcher and you lose 2-1. But they're going to bounce back. They'll be fine. They had a tremendous year, and so I think when you look at it, when you look at this bracket for the SEC, I think Tennessee is going to host. I think without a doubt, Arkansas is going to host. Texas A&M is going to host. Missouri potentially. I think they've got a good shot at hosting as well. Georgia, we'll see. I still think they got a good shot. But then of course Florida, Alabama. I think this will end their streak of hosting. I think they're going to have to travel. Auburn will have to travel. I would imagine. There's 13 teams that play softball in the SEC because Vanderbilt's the only school that doesn't have a team. I would say there's a good chance that in the past all 13 have gotten in. I don't know that that's the case this year, because Ole Miss has struggled a little bit, even though they won a game in the tournament. I still think they're going to get double-digit teams in the NCAA's though, because the SEC softball overall is the best in the country, and I think Alabama and Auburn, they won't host, but they'll both get in.
Yeah, same as the baseball scene. Both very good and very competitive in college sports. But Drew, real quick before we get you out of here, man, Alabama was able to land a pretty top recruit on the defensive side of the ball. Tell us a little bit more about the guy from Wake Forest and what he's bringing to this squad.
Yeah, Deshaun Jones, he officially announced transfer portal-wise he was coming to Alabama. We'll see if King Mack does the same, the safety from Penn State. Alabama trying to add a couple pieces to that secondary because, quite frankly, guys, they don't have experience.
Yeah.
I mean, they've lost so much talent to the NFL and to the transfer portal in the last year and a half. It's pretty amazing. I said on Talking Ball this morning, their top corner experience-wise is a redshirt freshman that barely played maybe in 2 games, Jaleel Hurley from Florence.
No.
They have no starting experience that have played in an Alabama uniform. It's why, they went out and got Domani Jackson from USC in the transfer portal, and now Deshaun Jones, because they both are probably going to be slated to start. Now, they've got some freshmen that are really talented, Jalen Mbakwe, Zay Mincy, Zabian Brown, but none of them have played in a game. And so they wanted to get some Power 5 game experience. That's what they've done. They went out and they got Howard from Charlotte, the young safety. They're trying to get King Mack. Both those guys only have 1 year of experience, but they have played, no doubt about it. Cameron Howard and of course, King Mack, and we'll see if they can add them. They added Keon Sabb from Michigan. He helped win a national championship. But the only safety that has played quite a bit, and he's the only one that has any game experience in an Alabama uniform, is Malachi Moore. He came back for his 5th year, his COVID year, so he has a lot of experience. Nobody else in the secondary does. Now, talent, yes, there's talent there, no question about it. Red Morgans and Bray Hubbard are 2 other young safeties that are very talented, but they just don't have a lot of experience at all. And so they needed to go out and kind of get some experience in the room, both in the safety and the cornerback room. And we'll see if Khalil Jacobs comes in. He's a linebacker from South Alabama. He had been mentioned as coming in as potentially this weekend. Haven't confirmed that yet. He could be another piece. And then Gino Vandermark, the versatile offensive lineman from Michigan State, is supposedly coming in. If he does, I think there's a very strong chance he could be added to the Alabama roster. He started 6 games for Penn State last year, but then was out with injuries. But he can play both guard spots and center. He's a guy that's versatile, and he would add experience to the offensive line room. And as you know, they've had attrition at the O-line as well, and so they're trying to add some potential experience out of the portal to round out their roster under Kalen DeBoer.
Great to hear. Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball has been our guest. You can listen to him over on the first show of the day, 7 to 9 weekdays. Alabama, no stranger to being one of the younger teams in college football. Last year, they were down there as one of, if not the youngest team. But we got to hop into a break. When we come back, we're talking a little bit of SEC football from the Texas perspective. Going to be really interesting to see how they're going to be able to fare in their first season of SEC play. That's what's coming up here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandiman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
We're here to help.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
Handshake Barbershop, a vintage barbershop feel where you can catch up with an old friend and maybe make a new one. We still do classic men's haircuts, beard trims, and hot towel straight razor shaves. Plus, we offer more modern, trendy haircut services. Enjoy arcade games and rock and roll spinning on vinyl while you're here too. Book your appointment online at handshakebarbershop.com. Everything you love about your favorite barbershop, but with our own special DNA. In Arab, Gunnersville, and now at Cherokee Ridge Country Club. Online at handshakebarbershop.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. We are going to be cooler across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures only climbing into the mid and upper 70s. We're actually going to drop into the lower 50s as we head into the overnight early into your Saturday morning. Really looking at a fantastic weekend. Mostly sunny skies Saturday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s. We're dropping into the low 50s through the overnight. A partly sunny sky on Sunday. Temperatures once again climbing into the mid and upper 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The best in local sports talk from the 256. We are local.
When you're number one, you don't have to worry.
We are award-winning. Thank you for listening. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You'll be set for life.
Hello and welcome back in to the Morning Blitz. Funky Friday going down in no man's land today. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman, Bailey, Lowery, and Bandy.
What's going on?
Just the best of things is going on. I mean, it's almost the weekend, of course, Mother Day weekend. You guys spend the week or the weekend with your mothers, and also, whatever you're doing. Because I got a baby shower tomorrow to go to, so that's going to be a lot of fun and then I got to go and I don't know. I'm not going to be in Huntsville that much this weekend, so it's a little upsetting. I love this place. I like to always be here nowadays, but, it's just how it is. But either way, Bandy, I want to look towards the future just a little bit. July 1st is the official day that Texas and Oklahoma will be a part of the SEC. Are we ready for this new college football where the Pac-12 is not going to exist, the Big 12 is going to look like trash, the ACC is going to still be dysfunctional, and the Big 10 and the SEC are just going to be absolute powerhouses? Are we ready for this?
I think we are.
I think we're finally ready for it.
I think we're ready for it. I mean, I've heard the news forever.
Yeah.
Since like 2 years ago or even a year ago, like the announcement was made?
Yeah, and last year all of the teams started jumping ship from the Pac-12, so, that was all something that was going on.
So we're going to see a reworked SEC, a completely, like you said, disappearing Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-2.
Gone.
And now a 12-team playoff.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, but I do want to just focus on one team, and that is the Texas Longhorns, because we're seeing them transition from the Big 12, which a lot of people kind of look at and they think, oh, that's a competitive Power 5 type of conference. Then you look over at the SEC and you're thinking, well, some of these mid-tier teams could probably beat some of the better teams in the Big 12, and that's kind of where I sit. But now the Big 12 is getting all these other squads in, and honestly, it's just looking a little bit less potent as usual. But I will say this. The competitiveness is still there, all right? But they kind of just stick to their own grounds. Everybody in the Big 12 can kind of beat each other, and that's what I like to see, okay? Who's going to be the next champion? It's not going to be a Texas. It's not going to be an Oklahoma. It's going to be one of these other squads, and I love to see that, all right? Because it is. There's a lot of intrigue around that conference. But are they going to be able to hold a candle to the SEC, to the Big 10, to the ACC even? And I look now at this Texas squad and think, how are they going to transition? And I think the SEC did a pretty good job to help them kind of transition in the easiest way possible, because let's just look at their schedule as we did a few days ago with Georgia's schedule for the upcoming season. Because, again, the divisions are out of the window, okay? There's no such thing, what teams are Alabama going to play off against this year? It's always the same. It's going to be different every single season. So they're going to start off the year against Colorado State, which is an easy little dub for them. They're just going to get their first, easy game that they're going to throw at the wall.
Might be a tougher challenge in Colorado themselves.
Then they get Michigan, all right? So you get Michigan game 2. This is not the same Michigan team with Jim Harbaugh. We don't know what this team's going to throw at us. There's a lot of questions about this squad. I still think that Texas is going to get the win. They're bringing back the same quarterback. They're also bringing in some new wide receivers to help out with the squad. The running game
we know who they're bringing over.
Yeah, we do. We don't know exactly the running game, how well this is going to fare. They're going to be rocking with the sophomore and C.J. Baxter. But you look at the wide receiver core, Bandy, and we think about a few of these guys. We see, Silas Bolden. You see the transfer, Matthew Golden. It's just a nice little wrap. And then you get Isaiah Bond.
Yep.
And he's the one that I look at and I'm just like, this guy's going to be pretty good. He's going to be pretty good. Why? Because he was at Alabama, and, of course, he made a name for himself after that amazing grab he had against the Auburn Tigers. But we keep looking down this list, all right? So I think they're going to be able to take care of Michigan. They're going to take care of UTSA, all right? It's a quick Roadrunners team, don't get me wrong. And also, they might have a few of the Broncos players because they might have gotten switched up on accident in transit, because why not? And I'm talking about, the Denver Broncos, because they got identical uniforms. Louisiana Monroe, going to be another easy win. So, first 4 games, I see them becoming 4-0. There's a possibility 3-1.
Yeah, probably 3-1 against that Michigan team.
You think, though. Again, this is a totally new Michigan team we're looking at this year, all right? Mississippi State. We're entering into SEC play. You get Mississippi State.
I think they'll be fine.
That's a good one. That's a good, easy first SEC, conference game right there. You're going to take care of them. Oklahoma, all right? The Red River Shootout, whatever they want to call it down there. Got to admit.
Now part of the SEC.
Now part of the SEC. This is a totally different game. Last year, Oklahoma did win this matchup, which I am going to compare this season to last season really quick whenever we get down to the end of this. They go against Georgia after Oklahoma. So this is finally that 1-2 punch. You're going to get 2 really good challenges, one after another. And then after Georgia, which they might lose, I'm going to say they're going to lose to that Georgia team, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas. Talk about a really good SEC schedule for your first year in the league, okay? And now we kind of look over at what they were able to play up against in last season. They played Rice. They played Alabama week 2, Wyoming. They played Baylor. That was their first Big 12 game. Took care of Baylor like it was nothing. took care of Kansas, who ended up being in the top 25 at the end of the season, all right? 40-14. It's still Kansas. That's one of those teams that could be, at the top of the Big 12. If they play up against any of the medium-tier SEC squads, I'd even throw out Mississippi State. I don't know if they could win. I could throw out Arkansas. They probably won't win. They lose to Oklahoma 34-30. Very close matchup there. They play up against a Houston team, and they just barely edge by them 31-24 halfway through the season. Guys, you got to remember that this is a Houston team that went on the next week to get blown out, like just shot out of the water by a Kansas State team. 41-0. Ouch. Yeah, talk about painful. They go up against BYU. This one, yeah, it's going to be a blowout. You're going up against another mid-tier, Big 12 team, 35-6. They go up against Kansas State. They do beat Kansas State, 33-30, all right? So that's a good Kansas State team that even challenged Missouri. You got to remember, again, one of those teams, it was mid-tier at the time that they played Kansas State, all right? They got up there at the end of the season. Missouri, of course, turning pretty elite. And then they play TCU. A TCU team that lost to Colorado. A Colorado team that only won 4 games on the season. TCU nearly got their number. 29-26 was the score in that game. We're talking so highly about Steve Sarkisian's Texas Longhorns with Quinn Ewers and now the wonderful Arch Manning. And they almost lost to TCU. Houston, they almost, and outside of that, it wasn't really too much of a challenge. And Iowa State, who they had to face up against the week after that, 26-16. They destroyed Texas Tech. Forget about them. This isn't Patrick Mahomes' Texas Tech, all right? They're gone.
Not anymore.
Blow them out of the water. Destroyed Oklahoma State in the bowl game where everybody was kind of saying, this is when people were thinking that Texas was definitely a legit squad because they were consistently winning games. But people forget that they weren't winning them by much. Just wait. And I'm not going to be like, just wait until Texas has to face off against the best of the SEC. Why isn't Texas playing up against an Ole Miss team this season? Why aren't they playing LSU? Why aren't they playing Alabama?
Do you want to tell?
Why aren't they playing Tennessee?
Dude, you know who is?
I know who is.
Have you seen, this is a side note, have you seen Florida's schedule this year?
Yeah. These are teams.
I am praying for Florida.
Florida, Arkansas, Ole Miss. These are guys that are actually going to be playing up against these tough competition in the SEC. This is something that Texas, is thankfully getting away with not playing in their first season. But hopefully they'll be ready in their second season because they're not going to miss out on the Tennessees, on the Ole Misses, on the Alabamas. They get Georgia. Hey, they get Georgia. That might equal 3 of those teams this year, but I don't know if they're going to be able to withstand the pressure of the SEC constantly hitting them in the jaw.
Yeah, Florida, I'm praying for you, man, because this is actually the hardest schedule in college football. I am looking at. You start off with Miami and Sanford.
Yep.
Then into Texas A&M, Mississippi State, UCF.
Okay.
This is where it gets kind of ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Tennessee.
All right.
Kentucky.
Okay.
At Georgia. At Texas versus LSU.
Ooh.
Versus Ole Miss.
Ooh.
And then at Florida State.
The swamp's gonna be muggy this year.
Have fun. I am.
Yeah. Let's have a moment of silence for Florida real quick. All right, we gotta hop into a break. When we come back, we're talking NASCAR, baby, and we're getting into a little bit of the paint schemes that are coming into Darlington as we look forward to Throwback Weekend at one of the most traditional NASCAR tracks that is still being used today. I am so excited, and you guys should as well. 256-5764
97.7
is the number to get in.
This is Brent Musburger's VSIN.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandiman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
What if I told you that Bigfoot is real and that he's making the best donuts you've ever had? Come see for yourself at Bigfoot's Little Donuts. Come in and order from over 50 flavors, all made hot and delicious. Ranked in the top 100 donut shops in the nation by Yelp. Bigfoot Little Donuts. Order in store or online at bigfootslittledonuts.com for pickup or delivery from Grub South or DoorDash. South Parkway, Huntsville, and County Line Road, Madison. Bigfoot's Little Donuts.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. We are going to be cooler across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures only climbing into the mid and upper 70s. We're actually going to drop into the lower 50s as we head into the overnight early into your Saturday morning. Really looking at a fantastic weekend. Mostly sunny skies Saturday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s. We're dropping into the low 50s through the overnight. A partly sunny sky on Sunday. Temperatures once again climbing into the mid and upper 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I wanna thank you. Thank you for making us your number one choice for sports talk in North Alabama.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hello and welcome back into the Morning Blitz. Johnny Ramcap Cool alongside the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. And This show is presented by the wonderful people over at Fleming Roofing and Restoration. The guys you need to talk to about all of your roofing needs. If you're having any roofing problems, make sure you look them up online at FlemingHSV.com to fill out your free quote today. And remember that Fleming always shows up. It's been a very funky Friday. We've had a lot of fun today, but we're going to get into a little bit more of the cool stuff. I would say the what's cool segment. How about we bring that back? Because we're going to look at a little bit of these paint schemes or these wrap schemes for NASCAR at Darlington. Of course, it's going to be the throwback. The first race at Darlington was back in 1950, and to think that they're still racing at the exact same track is pretty bonkers, Bandy, to say the least. But if you are watching over on WZZN TV, you will be able to see all of the paint schemes because we're going to throw them up over there. Good stuff from you, Bandyman. But let's take a look at what we got going down. And the first one I want to look at is number 1, Ross Chastain, as he's going to be riding in that Busch car. And I got to admit, Bandy, it's not my favorite, but it's a close, I would say it's in the top 3, okay?
It's a nice wrap.
I like, I don't know what it is about the beer aesthetic, but I've always kind of liked it. You probably see me with plenty of shirts on. A lot of the times it's Budweiser, all that stuff. But the Busch, the classic Busch, just looks amazing. And it is going to be commemorating the 35th anniversary of Busch Light, the whole brand as a whole. So it's definitely a really cool blue and white type of car that I love to see. And now we're going to skip down, Bandy.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, though. The Wendy's logo kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get all those ones. They didn't have these types of brands back then, but, you're going to still see it. Either way, you go down a little bit. Don't go to number 2. Go to number 3, Bandy.
Ooh.
And although I'm not a huge fan of Austin Dillon, I think it's a disgrace to have him in the 3 car because, he's just not good. But the car that he's going to be rocking is going to be special, all right? He'll be running a throwback based on Dale Earnhardt's Golden Bass Pro Shops Chevrolet back from 1998. I almost said a Corvette. They did not have Corvettes in NASCAR. But it's an awesome car, and I think back to movies, that had this scheme and all this stuff, and I loved it. But having to have a guy like Austin Dillon driving the car, all right? Somebody that,
you're not a fan?
He finishes P30 or back even farther than that almost every single race.
Ouch.
Okay? And this has kind of just been the case since he came into the Cup Series just a few years back. And it's really upsetting. It's one of those things. It was the same with Alex Bowman whenever he took over the 88 car, all right? I wanted to see him succeed. He didn't succeed. I can't be a fan of him. He's not Dale Earnhardt. He's not Earnhardt Jr., so why would I even stick around for it? The only thing they got going for him is the number 3. The car looks dope, but it's just not there for it. He's just not the racer that I like to see.
Hey, this might be what he needs. Maybe he needs like that influence to finally get the P30.
You think he's been rocking the number 3 for like 6 years now? He hasn't been able to get a P1 either way. Moving down the list a little bit.
I mean, he's a slow developer.
Yeah,
Come on.
I guess he's a slow developer.
He's a slow learner.
You know who's not a slow developer or a slow learner? Kyle Larson. This guy's absolutely amazing. Go down to the 5th car, all right, number 5. And we're getting to see, another paint scheme that really just brings back traditional NASCAR. It really makes you think of the glory days, okay? Because he's going to be rocking the Terry Labonte, the Kellogg's Cornflakes car. Yeah. But instead of Kellogg's, because they don't have a sponsor from Cornflakes, they got the HendricksCars.com on it. And I think it transitions very well. It doesn't stick out like it looks weird or anything. It looks perfect. I love it. And, of course, it looks amazing on the next-gen Camaro. But now we got to go down to possibly my favorite car of the entire weekend, and that's going to be Brad Keselowski's Castrol throwback.
This looks really good.
It's amazing. It's paying homage, of course, to the Toyota Supra GT that was huge in Japan, of course, back in the 1990s, and it made its all-star debut back in the All Japan Grand Touring Car Championship in 1995.
I think wasn't it in that show like Drift or something, or like gosh,
what is it?
What was that? It's about drifting. Do you know? It's where that song Deja Vu is from.
Initial D.
Initial D.
Yeah, Initial D. I don't know if it is. It probably. I mean, the Supra is definitely in that show. I don't know if they ever threw this one at you, but I know this is like huge for anybody who played like Gran Turismo 4, 3. You're going to see this car, you're going to know it, and you're going to love it, and I am right there with them. I think it translates perfectly, and it being on a Mustang makes it just that much better. I mean, it's just freaking awesome looking, gotta admit. So going down the list, we're going to skip Corey LaJoie because who the hell cares?
We're going to skip the Chili's car and the Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah, going to skip that one, going to go down.
Premium grapes.
This one I like. Kaz Grala, another one of those drivers that you don't see up in the top 10 that often. It's a surprise whenever he is up there. He's going to actually be rocking an interesting throwback. It's going to go all the way back to 1969, and he's going to be driving the Pernelli Jones car. It was the Boss Mustang, the 302, of course, and it had this cool little paint scheme, and I love the way they're transitioning it over. They still have the circle around the 15. Bandy, I don't know if you feel the same way I do about it, okay, because I'm a huge Mustang fan, but getting to see a little bit of this car, revitalized in 2024 is absolutely amazing, and I think it's just perfect from the sponsors down to the number, down to the Boss 302 on it. It's all just amazing, and I got to admit, it's one of them. It's one of them. I don't think it's the best.
It's one of them.
It doesn't translate better than, of course, Brad Keselowski's, but it's definitely one of them. And now we're going to skip down to the number 24 car, Bandy. So hop on down there, and I know we're skipping some that we love, we like to see. We have limited time here on the show.
On the Flame Runner throwback.
So you know what we're going to. A little bit of the Jeff Gordon action. I know there's plenty of Jeff Gordon fans out there. I wasn't one of them. He was always kind of a rival to the Earnhardts, and that went for senior as well as junior. And he was never really a part of the team that I liked. William Byron, a little bit of the same. He's a really good driver, and I like underdogs, Bandy. So I'm not always going towards this guy. And, of course, when I see that 24, I establish it with Jeff Gordon. Not a huge fan of him, but I do like the paint scheme. I think the Flames are classic. You can't go wrong with them. But I would like them to do, maybe next year, maybe bring back the rainbow paint scheme that Jeff Gordon was rocking back in the late 90s. That was a very nice one, but this one pays a little bit of homage to the 2010s, the early 2010s Jeff Gordon that went less blue and flame and more black and flame, which looked really good.
Yeah, so I just scrolled now. I just cracked up at the next one I saw on the list with the Long John Silver car.
Yeah, this one doesn't go back to anything.
It doesn't go back to anything, but it's just a pirate on the side. Like, oh.
It pays homage to Long John Silver's, okay? And I only know maybe 2 people in this studio that eat Long John Silver's.
I have never eaten.
Tom Abraham, on occasions, and then just the other day I did see Steve Moulton eating it. I don't know if I want to call you out. I don't know if it's a bad thing, it's a good thing. Long John Silver's is fine, but I don't know, fast food fish might not be the best way to go.
Yeah, it's like from what people I've heard, like Long John Silver's and like Captain D's, like they're fun, like they're good to eat.
Yeah.
Or like they taste good. I'll take your word for it because I'm with you. Like fast food, seafood does not sound appealing.
Well, we're not here to dog on Long John Silver's. Long John Silver's, whatever you want to call them. All right?
We can dog on Long John Silver's. I heard,
Could.
Hey, I heard there's a little rivalry between the two. Like, hey, which one's better?
I'm going to be honest. I thought whenever Alabama had their sickness in baseball, I thought it's because they went to Long John Silver's. I didn't think it's because they went... I didn't think it was because of the pasta that they were eating. And I got to admit, it's definitely the sauce or it's gonna be the meatballs. Those will throw you through a loop. You could just ask me. I've eaten plenty of freaking spaghetti and then gone out to work out, and it was the worst workout I've ever had. Absolutely explosive type of stuff right there. But either way, Andy, we got one more car we can go down. All right.
Okay.
And I gotta wait until my page reloads.
Which number?
Let's think, okay? You could just throw out a number. I do like the 9 card just because it is Chase Elliott, and he is rocking the Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback from 2014, a year that, he really did well. I'm gonna take a look real quick.
I'm liking the 54 car.
You like the 54 car?
Because
he gets us.
He gets us.
And then it's the Monster Energy drink right behind it.
I'm thinking it's just talking about Ty Gibbs. Like, as he's driving around, man, he gets us.
He really does understand where we're coming from.
He gets us.
It's funny because I remember a few years ago, people were calling out Monster because they thought they were like a kind of a bad anti-religion type of company, I guess, but. And now they're mixing it with a Jesus company. He gets us right next to the Monster logo. How do you guys feel about that? That's an interesting one. He gets us. He gets us.
Crack into a monster.
He gets that we like to crack into the monsters and not think anything about it. And the last one I'll say is that Alex Bowman car. He's going to be rocking a Jimmy Johnson throwback from the Jimmy Johnson glory days.
Wait, which number?
Number 48.
48.
And I got to admit, this is perfect. It's beautiful, and it's 10 times better than whenever we got to see Chase Elliott rocking this exact same colorway. But with the number 9, it just looked extremely awkward. But you guys can go and vote on your favorite car over at NASCAR.com, and also just let us know either in the YouTube chat box or you can call in the final segment. But we got to hop into a break, Bandy, because when we come back, we got some playoff madness to talk about because some of my teams won, and hockey was pretty crazy as well. So that's what's coming up here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandiman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
You know, Bandy, it is a beautiful day outside, and I think that means golf is probably on the schedule. I mean, you got to look over at our zone deals. We got a beautiful, beautiful deal for Cherokee Ridge, as well as the Handshakes Barber and hair supplies over there. You guys definitely go down there, get a nice little chop, get ready for Monday. Of course, we're going to have our charity golfing event and play a round or two over at the old Cherokee Ridge. Definitely go and check out our zone deals over at halfoffdeals.com to get yours today. The limited supplies. Bandy, we've had a lot of fun today. We got to talk really all things that we love to talk about, except for NBA. And I think it's finally time we get into a little bit of that conversation, because the Cavaliers were able to find gold and, the end of the rainbow against the Celtics last night. Just kind of throw at us what we got to see in that beautiful, beautiful arena of theirs.
I'm not going to lie. This series is kind of making me miss Donovan Mitchell a little bit.
Yeah, I would too.
A little bit. I'm starting to realize, his off the dribble three game, I really miss.
Yeah.
But again, just having a huge game, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists from the guard, and finishing off 118-94 in Boston.
Yeah.
So here's what you got. You got 1-1 going into Cleveland. Cleveland's on the momentum. This could be a Cavs team that could make a run for the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, and you really hadn't seen that kind of run since LeBron left last time.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And I think, I don't know if the home court advantage is going to help them to the point where they're going to take both of the games. But I think that there is at least going to be one game taken from each team as they go back to Boston to try and, wrap up this season or the series in some way. In Game 5, of course, they're going to have to keep playing until somebody wins the fourth one. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect the Cavaliers to be able to really show out against Boston and actually win the way they did at Boston. Very impressive stuff. But let me just say,
I was thinking the same thing about Dallas.
The shots were hidden. And yeah, speak of Dallas a little bit, because they also were able to find a little bit of thunder last night.
Yeah, 119-110 Mavericks taking it in OKC. And again, Luka Doncic with that double-double, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, this is a Mavs team that can really just kind of score at will. In a way, like, it is a very high-powered offense. And then you kind of got the Thunder.
Yeah.
As the 1 seed, I don't really see them as the 1 seed in the West.
It doesn't feel like it.
No, because, they're a very team that can get very hot very fast. SGA, MVP candidate. Again, on his own, 33 with 12 rebounds and 8 assists last night. But they're going to need a little more help.
Yeah.
They're going to need a little bit more help. These teams are very evenly matched.
Yeah, I totally agree with
So you're going to need all the help you can get from your side players. Again, Chet Holmgren and Josh Giddey, all of them, they're going to need to step up a little bit more for this OKC squad to kind of get the job done. But I don't think they're the best team in the West.
No, I kind of agree.
They were the 1 seed. I got the Nuggets a little bit, but mainly the Timberwolves.
No, the Timberwolves are looking nasty, and I think a main reason to why the Thunder they dropped this one was just because the drop-off they had at the three-point shooting, it totally fell off. I believe they only made 10 on the night, and that definitely didn't help them out when it came to, of course, the Mavericks, who were able to do the total opposite and really churn out those points. But they were still able to get 110 on the board.
That is true.
And in Game 1,
but not really because of them.
Yeah.
It was the lack of defense on both sides. There was no defense. There's been no defense in this series so far.
It's the NBA. What do you expect?
You want the defensive series? Go watch Timberwolves and Nuggets.
No. But Bandy, that's the good stuff over in the NBA, and I'm going to turn it over to the NHL to really close out this show and also tell you what to look forward to this weekend, because last night, dude, the Avalanche versus the Stars, it went down yet again. And as we remember from that Game 1, of course, the Avalanche were able to come back and get the win. Last night, it started a little bit different, okay? The Stars got up 3-0, then they scored another goal, and then that's when it got a little interesting. The Avalanche actually almost brought it back. They brought it back to 4-3. Of course, they took their goaltender out. They were able to score a late goal. And then that's kind of when it switched. It's really tough to score 2 goals in a row without a goaltender.
Yep.
So, of course, the Stars were able to finish off. Dallas was able to breathe a sigh of relief as they now head to Colorado to face off against them in the Game 3. And then on the other end, I'll say this, all right? This needed to happen. After the Hurricanes decimated my Islanders, a different New York team needed to come into town and absolutely decimate them. Right now, sitting 3-0 in the series, the New York Rangers against the Hurricanes. Some big stuff. What we can look forward to tonight, though, Bruins versus the Panthers. You know I'm happy for this one. And I think that's the only game that's actually going down tonight. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Say something.
I'm about to say, I'm watching Timberwolves Nuggets tonight. That's the playoff game to watch tonight
what
over
you're
in the
doing.
NBA side.
Hey, but if you guys want to listen in as well to 97.7, Alabama versus LSU, that series starts tonight. And then over on Talk Radio WZZN, the continuation of Trash Pandas versus the Mississippi Braves. Is we've got to see some good baseball from this Rocket City squad, and we love to see it. But for me and the Bandiman, we'll be back next week on a Monday from Cherokee Ridge. We'll see you guys. Peace.
The company is Eagle